Hello, hello, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our weekly Guide London broadcast, our live broadcast here coming out to you on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter. I hope you're all having a wonderful day wherever you are in the world. Do let us know in the comments where you're joining us from. We always love to know which parts of the globe we're reaching. And do let us know, of course, as well, whether you have visited London before. We always like to hear from you and your experiences. My name is Catherine. I might be new to some of you. I am one of over 600 Blue Badge tourist guides based in London who are members of the Association of Professional Tourist Guides, the organisation behind Guide London and our website guidelondon.org.uk, who are, of course, bringing you these little broadcasts every week at the moment in the lockdown. Hello from London, greetings from the Falkland Islands. Lovely to see you all, guys. Thanks so much for joining us. What a treat we have in store for you today. As you might have guessed from our title, we are going to be looking at the crown jewels, some of the most exciting, some of the most significant, some of the most sparkly objects that you might get a chance to see here in London. If you have any questions as we go throughout the broadcast, please feel free to pop them in the comments section. I can see everything you write in there. So hello from Memphis, Tennessee. Hello from the East End. Do feel free to pop any questions, any comments in there. If you're joining us live, we'll do our best to answer some of those at the end for you. And if you're not joining us live, then say hello anyway. We like to go back through the comments and read them and see where everybody's joined us from. If you're joining us on YouTube, give us a like, subscribe to the videos. We have a huge back catalogue of little episodes that you can watch if you're only just discovering us, about all sorts of different bits of London history, famous faces, famous buildings, wonderful little tours, all sorts of things to get you excited. And as I say, it is my great pleasure today to introduce my colleague, the chair of the Association of Professional Tourist Guides, Danny Parler, who is going to be talking to us about the crown jewels. Hi, Danny. How are you?
Hi. Hello, Catherine. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. I'm very well, thanks.
No problem, no problem. Well, it's great to have you, and I'm very excited to find out all about the crown jewels, hear a little bit more, some of the good fun stories behind them. So I'm going to hand over to you.
Yes,
keep your comments coming in, everybody, and enjoy.
Thanks, Catherine. Hello, everyone. My name is Danny, the tour guide, and I'm here today to tell you all about the crown jewels. You know, absolute must see if you're in London, if you're visiting London, or if you're living in London. And here is a map of central London showing some of the 60,000 streets to see in the capital. Now, to the left, you can just see a little camera icon. That's Buckingham Palace. If you cast your eye to the right, you can, of course, see the Tower of London. So let's take a closer look at the tower and see how it fits into the city. So, Catherine, if you could go to the next slide, please. Thank you. So here's the tower from above. So stands out like a sore thumb, and the tower has loomed large over the River Thames for nearly 1,000 years. So really half of London's history. And the Tower of London has had many functions over its time. That of a palace and a fortress, prison, place of torture, execution. It's also been used as a mint, a place to mint or strike coins, as an armory, record office, even as a royal menagerie, like a zoo, to keep lions and tigers and elephants and all the rest. I could be here for an hour naming all of the animals. And as a home to the Tower Ravens and the 37 yeoman warders who keep the Tower of London safe and secure. But we're here for the crown jewels that have been housed in the Tower of London for over 600 years now. And many of these functions have long gone, resigned to history, but actually some of them exist to this day. And today, the Tower of London is the most visited, paid for historic attraction in the country. And it's one of 4 UNESCO World Heritage Sites. So it's a very special place. And today it's managed by the independent charity Historic Royal Palaces. So let's take an even closer look at the tower. Thank you. And look at how impressive it is, with the White Tower in the middle. That's the oldest part of the Tower of London, used as a royal palace, and now holds lots of armour. And it's surrounded by these two outer walls built nearly 700 years ago, so making the whole complex very secure, a great place to store valuables. Now, the crown jewels have been kept in various parts of the Tower of London in its history, but they are kept in the Waterloo Barracks today, which you can see highlighted. And the Waterloo Barracks has housed the crown jewels since the 1960s, in the basement to begin with. But since 1994, they have been displayed on the ground floor, making them very accessible to everyone visiting from all around the world. And it's thought over 30 million people have visited the crown jewels, and they are the most visited objects in Britain, if not the entire world. So quite the accolade. So let's see what the entrance to the Waterloo Barracks looks like. So here it is. So made of stone. This building dates back to the 1840s. It was built to replace the Grand Storehouse, which burnt down in 1841, destroying 2/3 of the tower's armour collection. It was a great disaster. And actually, the fire nearly destroyed the crown jewels that were being held in the Martin Tower, just behind the Waterloo Barracks to the right. They had to be prized out of the bars because the keys couldn't be found at the time, but they were thankfully secured. So the barracks, it was built to house 800 soldiers. In the end, over 1,000 were stationed in the building. And the ground floor I mentioned is where the crown jewels are held today. Well, maybe 2 or 3 dozen soldiers still live, for want of a better word, in the barracks on the first floor to the right, and the second floor and the left of the first floor, that's used by the learning team, which I used to work for many years before I was a tour guide. I used to work on the first floor of the Waterloo Barracks, organising all of the school visits. And the second floor, lots more offices as well. There's hundreds of staff that work at the Tower of London, so you're in very safe hands when you visit. And the display that of the crown jewels exists today dates back to 2012. It was already displayed to celebrate the Queen's Diamond Jubilee, or 60 years on the throne. Now, there's many rooms. If we were really going through those 2 towers in the middle to see the crown jewels, you'd go through a variety of rooms. First, a room with portraits of some of our 40 monarchs that have contributed to the collection of the crown jewels. And then there's another room with some artistic videos, and then a story of the Civil War, and even some video footage of the Queen's coronation in 1953. And then a corridor of golden gilded maces, and then the vault. Now we're going to go straight into the vault. So this, of course, is the best image I can show you, and nothing beats seeing the crown jewels in real, of course, but this image will have to do for now. Now, top right, we have St. Edward's crown. Now, this is one of the most important and sacred items, sacred of all the crowns in the collection. And that's because it's used at the height of the coronation ceremony itself. It's solid gold, and since 1911 has been permanently fitted with semi-precious stones. So until that time, the crown was really like a skeleton, and gemstones would be rented for the event of the coronation of a monarch. But the crown itself, that kind of gold frame, dates back to 1661, as do many of the other pieces you can see in the image. And it actually weighs 5 pounds. So that's about the same weight as 4 footballs, which you can't hold on your head, or even a rack of baby back ribs. I've had some fun researching my weights. And on the left, we have the gold sovereign's orb. Now, again, this dates back to 1661, and it symbolizes the Christian world. and the cross mounted on top of it. And that's placed in the monarch's right hand during the investiture section of the coronation, and then it's placed on the altar. And next we have the scepter and rod, and this plays a very significant part of the coronation ceremony as well. So you can see the scepter just one second. The scepter to the right with the Cullinan diamond. Now that alone is over 500 carats in size. It's the largest cut quality diamond in the world. It's bigger than a baby's fist. It is incredible. And there's lots of other Cullinan diamonds that came from it, because originally it was almost twice in size. And on the left you have the sovereign scepter with dove, and that's made of enamel, and it's meant to symbolize the Holy Ghost. And at the bottom you can just see the sovereign's ring. Now that's been used by all monarchs from William IV, 1831, right to Queen Elizabeth II, 1953. And with the exception, I should say, of Queen Victoria. So her coronation, 1838, actually the ring was too small, and it got stuck on her finger, and she was in great pain to get it off, and had to put her hand in ice afterwards, which she recorded in her many diaries. But the ring itself, you can't quite see here. You'll have to visit in person. It's got a ring of diamonds on the outside and lots of rubies. It's really quite spectacular, and it's kind of meant to look like St. George's cross and the Scottish St. Andrew's flag. Now, let's go to King Charles I and Oliver Cromwell. So here is King Charles I on the left, resplendent in his red clothing, for want of a better word, and he is painted by Daniel Mytens here in the 1630s, when he was at the height of his powers, and his hand is placed in front of the imperial crown, and that's the imperial crown from King Henry VII, from the Tudors. So that crown would have dated back until about 1485, and it was one of the parts of the Crown Jewels collection which was destroyed by Oliver Cromwell on the right, after Cromwell abolished the monarchy in 1649 onwards. So these two, King Charles I and Oliver Cromwell, were fighting each other in a bitter civil war in the 1640s. Nearly 10% of the country died in this war. King Charles I supporting the Royalists, the Cavaliers, and Oliver Cromwell, the Parliamentarians. While the Parliamentarians won, Cromwell was executed, beheaded in January 1649. And after that time, Cromwell melted down the Crown Jewels at the Tower of London just to pay for to abolish these symbols of monarchy, but also pay some of his army. And the King's art collection was sold, and much else. Too much to mention right now, I must say. Now, some of those pieces actually escaped Cromwell's destruction, and that was the coronation spoon. Now, on the left, this is a replica of the real coronation spoon. You're probably thinking, God, I want one of those to eat my cornflakes. Well, actually, this coronation spoon is used during the anointing of the monarch in the all-important coronation ceremony, which confirms our new monarchs, which takes place in Westminster Abbey. Now, this spoon dates back to the 11th century, and it escaped because someone at the time bought it and kept it hidden for the 11 years of the Republic under the Cromwells. And then in 1660, gave it to the new king to curry favour, to get in the king's good books. But in the coronation ceremony, the eagle, the ampulla, drawing on the right, that contains the aromatic holy oil that's poured onto the coronation spoon to anoint the monarch. And after Cromwell, the next monarch was the son of King Charles I, King Charles II. So here he is in his incredible clothing, the robes, the even pair of high heels, the wig, all of the pieces that make up the monarchy, really, the crown, the orb, the scepter. And here he is, age 30, on coronation day 1660. And he was in exile in France for 14 years up to this time. And he brought a lot of the French fashions and customs to the English court. And he was crowned, like all of our monarchs, at Westminster Abbey. So Westminster Abbey is our royal church. Here's quite a cool graphic of it, actually. And there's been a religious site here for over 1400 years. This is actually the second abbey to be built on the site. It was started in the 1240s, and the two towers you can see, they were only added in the 1740s. And this is where all of our monarchs are crowned, starting William the Conqueror. He was crowned here on Christmas Day, 1066. And this is also where lots of our royal weddings take place. So the last, Prince William and Catherine Middleton, in April 2011, so nearly 10 years. Next month will be 10 years, 10th anniversary. And also 16 of our kings and queens are buried in the Abbey. So this is another place you must visit when you're in London. Now, many of our coronations that have taken place, so that of Queen Victoria, she was aged just 18 when she became queen, and crowned year after in 1838. So here she is on the coronation chair. Now this chair has been used at every coronation for the past 700 years now, and you can see that inside Westminster Abbey if you visit. Now let's talk about the coronation of our current monarch, the Queen Elizabeth II. So this is a cutout from a newspaper which shows how the Abbey was decorated for her coronation. So the Abbey, it nearly took best part of a year to prepare the Abbey for the event. And the Abbey had seating for 2,000 people. Well, we needed a lot more for the Queen's coronation. So train tracks were brought into the Abbey to bring in wood and steel to build bleachers, like grandstand style seating for the rest. And if you look carefully along the nave and the crossing, you can see lots of seating. But in this white circle, that's in the center of the crossing where most of the ceremony takes place. So we have a couple of photographs of the Queen's coronation next. So if we look on the left, you can see the wooden coronation chair to the right, and you can see another chair on a raised platform. Lots of clergymen, the Archbishop of Canterbury, lots of women wearing beautiful white dresses. That's the Queen's ladies in waiting. And this, the most important event of the Queen's life, which really confirms the Queen's position as sovereign and monarch. And on the right, this photograph taken after the event, you can see the Queen wearing the imperial state crown, the most used piece of the crown jewels, because the crown jewels collection is a working collection. Over 23,000 gemstones make up the collection. And you can see next to the Queen her husband, Prince Philip. And just next to Westminster Abbey, we have the Houses of Parliament. Now, this is quite important in the life of the monarch. So the Houses of Parliament made up of 1,000 rooms. You can, of course, see Big Ben, added in the 1880s. But towards the back, you can see a large tower. That's Victoria Tower, named after Queen Victoria and her Diamond Jubilee in 1897. So Queen Victoria, who is the current Queen's great-great-grandmother. Now, the base of that tower is the Sovereign's entrance, and that's the entrance that Her Majesty the Queen uses to enter Parliament. But the Queen isn't using this entrance every day or whenever she likes. She's only here to open Parliament. And it's a very special and unique event because it's the only time the monarch, the House of Commons and the House of Lords are all in the same room and meet up together. And the last time the Queen did this was in December 2019. Now, the Queen, it's a very huge pomp and ceremony. This is one of the the only time actually that I've ever seen the Queen was on her way to open Parliament one year. And the imperial state crown is carried on a red velvet cushion. And this crown has over 2,800 diamonds. And to the right, it has a huge blue sapphire, the Stuart sapphire from the kings and queens of Scotland. And on the left, just out of shot, you have the Black Prince's ruby, which is more of a spinel or a ballast, a semi-precious stone. And just under the orb connecting the 4 arches are historic pearls that may have been owned by Queen Elizabeth I and Mary Queen of Scots. And a king or queen's crown always has 4 arches, and a prince's 2, and emperor or empresses have 8. And that crown is worn by Her Majesty the Queen when opening Parliament. Now, here is a old photo of the Queen and Prince Philip arriving in Parliament, looking fantastic in their official and formal clothing before reaching the chamber. And this looks like somewhere where you want to be. Like, how spectacular does that look with that golden, dais? It's quite incredible. And if we go to the close-up of the Queen and Prince Philip on their thrones, now this is a scene actually that you probably won't see anymore, because over the last few years, the Queen has perhaps been performing dress down opening Parliament. So really the crown is incredibly heavy, and she is a lady in her 90s. And over the years, she's been wearing less formal clothing, more blue dresses with matching hats, and different headwear as well. And Prince Philip has since retired, so the Queen is often accompanied by her eldest son and heir, Prince Charles. Now, a few years ago, the Queen did a very rare interview with BBC on her memories of the coronation all those years ago. And if you go to the Royal Family YouTube channel, you can see this clip from the interview. And it's quite fascinating because the Queen just like grabs the crown and she's almost spinning it round and just talking about it. And she says, "Oh, my father, the previous king, King George VI, he told me, be careful how you place it on your head, because if you wear it at the wrong angle, it might break your neck." So it's quite a nice time, really, to see the Queen talking about her memories of that event so many years ago. Now, if we go to India now, to the Delhi Durbar. Now, this is King George V, the Queen's grandfather, being presented as Emperor of India. And he wants this event, but he wasn't allowed to take the imperial state crown out of the country. So a new crown had to be created. And that was the imperial crown of India, which you can see him wearing, and a photograph image on the right. And he said it was sweltering. He had to wear this in November in the sweltering heat for 3 hours, and he felt very tired afterwards. And that's the only time that crown has been worn, that one time, and it's since been on display for everyone to see. Now, you might be sat there wondering, hang on, all these priceless pieces, 30,000, over 23,000 gemstones, the largest cut diamond in the world, sapphires, rubies, diamonds. Has anyone ever tried to steal the crown jewels? Well, there was an attempt in 1671, and that was by a man called Colonel Blood. So Colonel Blood, at that time, the crown jewels were kept at the Martin Tower, with the finger emoji is pointing to. And Colonel Blood, he befriended the keeper of the crown jewels, and that was a man called Talbot Edwards. Talbot Edwards, he wasn't paid to be keeper of the crown jewels. He would earn money by doing tours of the crown jewels. And Mr. Blood, he said, well, I'd like to marry my son to your daughter, something like that. And one day Blood returned to the tower to visit Mr. Edwards with his 2 friends, more like accomplices. And they actually grabbed Mr. Edwards and they tied him up. They attacked him. Here he is on the right, knocked out on the floor, whilst Blood and his 2 escapees squash the crown, snap the scepter, shove it down their breeches, and they begin their escape from the Tower of London. But at that time, Talbot Edward's son returns from annual leave, holiday, whatever, and raises the alarm. And Blood is captured, arrested, but he says, I'm not speaking to anyone but the king. And at that time, the king was King Charles II, the merry monarch, who was always up for having a good time. And no one knows what the two discussed, but Blood came out of the room a free man. He'd been pardoned, given land in Ireland and a pension, and people think that Blood charmed the king. Or maybe Blood had something on the king. We don't know. But that's the only time the crown jewels have ever nearly been stolen. They're now kept very well, safe and secure by historic royal palaces who have a royal charter to do that and much more. And they are at the Tower for you to see. And I would recommend that you head to the historicroyalpalaces.com website and buy the illustrated guide, which has absolutely stunning, beautiful images of the crown jewels in detail, much more than I can show you here. So that brings me to the end of the presentation, and I'm very happy to answer any questions you have. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Danny. That was so interesting to be a fly on the wall between that conversation, Thomas Blood and King Charles II. I wonder what on earth he might have said to him. How interesting. Thank you so much for that. I'm going to start by asking you the question that I know people are secretly going to be dying to know the answer to. And that is, tell me, when you go into the Waterloo Barracks and you see the glass cases and you see the beautiful display and all those glittering gems, is what you're seeing real or is it fake?
Yes, well, I can tell you they are real. You know, you've paid your ticket, you bought, so, sorry, just 1 second to have some water after that.
Please do.
You're on tenterhooks now. No, they are real. So there's people get confused because they are real, but they're not as old as they could have been, because the original collection was, most of it was melted down, you know, at the end of the Civil War in 1649, 1650. However, it's believed, it's thought that many of the stones have since been retrieved and then placed in the new crown jewels created in 1661 for King Charles II's coronation.
Ah, okay, yeah, interesting.
But maybe that was like, that turned into a rumor, like, oh, well, they're not real, and then other people say, well, they're not real. No, they are real. They're just not as old as they could have been.
I have to say, you certainly notice when you're going in and out of the Waterloo Barracks, the thickness of the doors alone, I think, tell you that the stuff in there is real. Because it's
like being in a real bank vault, you know.
It really is, isn't it? You feel like
each door weighs as much as an elephant, I think I was told.
Something like that. Yeah, you certainly wouldn't want to get locked in at night by accident, would you?
No, you would not.
So we've got some lovely comments coming through in the chat. I'll just say hello to a few people. Hello to Andrea. Hi, Andrea. Hope you're keeping well. From Virginia. Hello also from Portugal. Hi, Eugenia. I think that's how you say your name. Hello, everybody. Quite a few people saying that they have visited the tower before and that they really enjoyed it. It's certainly something which I would say never gets old. You know, you every time you see it, it's something fresh and new and exciting, isn't it? Ruby says she loves the crown jewels. You've got the right kind of name for the crown jewels as well, Ruby.
Right. I have to change my name to Danny Diamond, I think.
I know. Yeah. Well, there we go. Yeah. There we go. I'm missing a trick there.
But that's the thing. They are spectacular, and I've seen them hundreds of times. I'm so fortunate to do what I do. But every time it is so special. And if you are visiting, make sure it's in the morning. I mean, us guides, as a default, will take you in the morning. And you know, if there is a queue, never mind. You know, the longest I've queued, maybe there's been a few times where I've queued 2 hours, but it's not mattered because I've just been telling all the stories about the Tower of London whilst in the line. But usually you might queue for about 20-30 minutes, but if you're first in, you'll just walk straight in. And actually this summer 2021, I think is the last opportunity you'll have to enjoy the tower without crowds. So make sure you go this year if you can.
Yeah, I really, really agree. I think for those people who manage to get over here and have a little look inside, you're going to see them in a much more sort of peaceful environment than you otherwise might. So definitely a good opportunity to do that. Just to remind you all, everybody, that we at Guide London here are speaking to you from the Guide London website. We are guidelondon.org.uk, and you can head on there. You can have a little look through our guides. Here's the wonderful Danny's page, as you can see. And if you're enjoying going through any of these broadcasts that we've been doing really since the lockdown began here in England in March last year, so there's lots and lots of videos stocked up for you to catch up on. If there's anybody you see who really piqued your interest, you can come on the site, you can look them up. And also, if you're just looking for a virtual tour, if you maybe it's going to be a while before you get over to London and you want something to whet your appetite and excite you about what you might see when you're here, you can go to our site and you can click this little button here which says London Virtual Tour. And if you click on that, you'll get all sorts of ideas and suggestions about the different things that you might be able to get a virtual tour of, different galleries, museums, lovely themed walks and things that we can offer to you virtually. And all the way down at the bottom, there's this little form, and you can fill that in, and you'll be matched up with 3 different guides, all of which you can give you different suggestions about what you might like to do. We've got a great blog on this website as well, so do come along and check us out. And as I mentioned at the beginning of all of this, do please feel free to share this video amongst your friends, subscribe to our YouTube channel, leave us a comment. Like I say, we love hearing from you. And I also want to particularly thank Danny for joining us today, not just for giving us such an interesting talk, but also because it is his birthday. So happy birthday, Danny.
Thank you, Catherine.
I would launch.
50 years young. Yeah.
I'm sure you'll forgive me. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody. We hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and we hope to see you next week, same time, 4 o'clock on a Tuesday, here on our Facebook page or our YouTube channel, for another wonderful story. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone. Goodbye.
Thank you so much, Catherine. Thanks for joining, everyone. Keep safe and best wishes.